so nice to be here. I guess we'll just start with some more introductions than what Jeff gave you. So Debbie, why don't you go ahead and get that started?
Sure. I'm Debbie Lyons-Blythe, and I'm a cattle rancher in Kansas. And I got on a plane in Manhattan, Kansas, and I end up here in Manhattan, as it's said correctly now, New York. So that's been really a lot of fun, but it's a total different culture shock for me. I think that one of the questions you may have is, what in the heck is a cattle rancher doing on this panel, and why do you care about what I think? Well, first of all, I want to tell you that I care about what you think because I'm just like you. I raise cows. You have another job, but that's my job. But about that job, though, too, I raise food. So I don't just have cows and raise beef, I raise food, and that's important. But I also have 5 kids, and I am working very hard to feed my kids in a very healthy, safe, nutritious way, and all of this fitness and the discussion is really absolutely perfect. But I do want to say, too, that less than 2% of the American population are farmers and ranchers. So one of the things that I do is, we have realized now that there's a movement out there that people want to know where their food comes from, but farmers and ranchers have been typically very busy and, spending time on the tractor or with the cattle and not communicating. So I'm a blogger, and I talk a little bit about what we do every single day to raise food. So I'm real interested in this discussion today.
My name is Ulla Kjarval. I grew up on a farm in upstate New York, and I now live down on Long Island with my husband, but I help to market my parents' meats using the internet, and I was able to connect with a great community of farmers, and that's why I'm on this panel.
And I'm Janice Person. I live in St. Louis, Missouri, but I used to live up the Harlem line in White Plains, New York for a while. And when I lived in the metro area, it was funny. I worked with the cotton business a lot. I've always worked in agriculture, and people used to just be blown away that I knew cotton farmers, or I knew cattlemen, or I knew people who grew the almonds and the blueberries that we have out there. I met a bunch of almond and blueberry farmers recently. I blog a lot about that in my personal passion, and that's how I came to get to know Jeff, is through 140 and through, there's a 140 small town, a 140 Des Moines, some of those kind of conferences. And so I've been able to share my personal story there. I also work for a business that maybe gets a different level of interest in a city like New York. I work for Monsanto Company, and I know for a lot of people that brings up specific images, and it may not be people like me sitting on the stage that brings up for you. So what we wanted to talk about a little bit today is when you look online and you start searching on Google or Bing. Last year when I was at 140 New York, somebody was talking about how Bing was going social, and I keep seeing the ads. It's incredible, right? It's a great thing. But what that also does is it starts to limit the amount of information that you're really going to see. So if it's a topic that your friends are incredibly interested in, that may overwhelm some of the other things. So when Jacqueline was talking earlier, Chris Brogan, they were talking about the fact that she uses PubMed a lot for information. That's a great resource for really good science and stuff, because today we get caught up in headlines a lot. And a lot of the questions for us is, you don't get to see real people that do the real work. So I have never asked Ulla if her family actually uses our products or anything, but we've just connected based on agriculture. One of the things is, all of us participate in that space, we notice there's a lot of polarization, and farmers want to have their voices heard. So why don't you give me some examples of some of that polarization you felt?
Well, honestly, I think the concerns that I have, and one of the biggest reasons that I started blogging was I have a family member who lives in a metropolitan area, and she visits the farm with her family, and just she's feeling a real pull to make certain food choices because of her friends and because of where she lives. But she does have that tie to the farm, so she's really blessed that she's able to, kind of figure out the true answers and see for herself what happens on a farm. I feel like that then she goes back to the city, and then they want to know from her what happens on the farm, and they ask those questions of her. And I think that's a real positive thing. But without that farm tie for our family members, she probably would not feel like she is fully informed to make those decisions. And I think that's one of my biggest concerns, is that there's a lot of information out there, a lot of studies in the media, and a lot of, real push that you have to do things this way or whatever. I really appreciate the previous speakers saying, get fully informed. And that is our point. If all you do is Google or Bing, and it continues to bring up the same information for you, you're never getting the other side of the story. You're never following through. And I think you have to consciously look for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up on a farm in Orange County, New York, and at the time it was becoming increasingly suburban, and there were less and less farmers, and I got a feeling growing up that we were very misunderstood. And, I was bullied as a kid because we raised sheep for meat and things like that, and I think the internet really can help farmers connect with people and show people that we're regular people like you, we're hardworking, we're trying to make a profit, and the polarization isn't really constructive to, learning where we're coming from and maybe making things easier for people to understand where we're both coming from.
Yeah, I really think that social media has allowed me to put a real face on who I am. A lot of times people assume because I work for Monsanto, I think everything should be GMO everywhere and things like that. And people are really shocked to know my brother has an organic co-op and that I'm really supportive of that, and that's the way he spends his summers. He's great. He's got a job where he has that kind of time. He's a professor. And we have organic farmers that are customers as well. So it's not an either or. And I think by being able to participate in a discussion on a regular basis, I'm able to do that a little better, which kind of leads us into stereotypes. Like, what kind of stereotypes have you guys had once put up against you, I guess used against you, or what kind of stereotypes are these guys busting for you while we're here?
That really throws me for a loop. I guess growing up on a farm, a lot of people think that you're not into other cultures and you're not into learning new things, and I think that's not true.
Yeah, yeah.
And one for us is, I mentioned earlier, I have 5 kids. I have one that just recently graduated from the college, 4-year university. I have 2 others that are still in college, a junior and a sophomore, and then I have twin boys that are seniors in high school that are looking to go to college for a 4-year degree. And I'll tell you what, farmers and ranchers these days need a college education. It's not all just hopping on a tractor and driving around. It's a lot of science, it's a lot of biology, and we're pretty involved people up on technology, pretty important.
Yeah, I think for me, there's so many more shared values than stereotypes let us have that it's really problematic for me. I mean, last night I loved dinner at, I guess it's Who Kitchen. I mean, that was awesome, the bowl with the quinoa and the spicy beef and everything. It was a fantastic meal, great fresh foods and everything. I think there's a lot more of that shared values than when people throw up a specific label and kind of pull you away so that they assume a lot of information based on that. And I think that's what's really cool about being able to participate in the online discussion is you get to be real people. So, I have to admit, I didn't know a lot of sheep farmers before. And so, like the sheep I would see would be in the city, in the zoo, or, something. And I thought that all sheep lived a certain way or something, not until my brother actually started farming. And our generation is the first one back into agriculture in 4 generations. So it's kind of amazing how much I can learn. What are the kinds of things people have learned about your farm that just kind of made them go, wow, wait a minute, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I guess everyone thinks sheep are cute, and they always ask, they're too cute to eat. But I think cows are super cute, because we got cows like 15 years ago, and I would have to argue that cows might be cuter than sheep. But what is it? Well, there's with lamb, there's a certain ethnicities that love lamb, and they totally understand sheep farming. But then many American-born people aren't as into sheep farming, and that's what's really kind of neat about sheep farming, because so many Greeks are passionate about sheep, and you know, Moroccans and stuff like that. So growing up, we would always meet really interesting people by what we were growing, because they would seek out lamb because they couldn't get it other places, which is kind of neat.
Cool. I don't remember if it says in our little information there online, but my website is, or my blog is Life on a Kansas Cattle Ranch. And my goal with that is just to tell stories about what I do on the ranch with my family. My husband works in town, so I'm the rancher. And just to kind of make those connections. One of the things that I think that people are really amazed with is that farmers and ranchers are truly the first environmentalists. We absolutely, positively have to work very hard to take care of the land. There's very few jobs that the kids want to do the exact same things that the parents did and the grandparents did. I like to say my husband is a banker, but I don't think any of my 5 kids are going to be a banker. Nothing against my husband, he's pretty awesome, but I do hope, I think out of 5, I do hope that there are probably 2 that will come home to the farm. That's really important. And so I have a responsibility to the land and to those animals to make sure that it's there for my kids. Not just there for the world, but what matters to me directly is there for the kids. And if it's good for the land, it's good for all of us. So that's really important. But back in terms of health and wellness, what's really important to me as well is that I am making food decisions and fitness decisions for my family and my kids every single day as well. And I think that's a really good connection for all of us.
So a lot of us participate. We actually met through a hashtag called AgChat. On Tuesday nights, there's a chat about agriculture, and each week they have a different thematic kind of piece. It could be about farm safety, it could be about different production practices, it could be about planting, it can be about harvest. And so that's one of the ways that I think people can meet other farmers and things. Another hashtag to use is AgNerd, which is people like us that really love social media and farming, right? So it's like we're really geeky about farming and technology, so we use the AgNerd hashtag. I'd really encourage you to go out and find some of these awesome people. Like, seriously, standing back there having some almonds, I wanted to give a big shout out to a guy named Brent Boersma out in California, because he's my almond farmer. I get my almonds directly from him a lot of the time. And I know later on, I think Carrie and Colleen will give more information about how to find some of those awesome farmers online. And I think we're right on time.
Perfect. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.